going on? It's Elusive here. It's been a while since we made a video. I feel like it's been a lot longer since we made a video, but it really hasn't been that long. It's only been about a week since we made the last video. I'm going to be doing my best to do more consistent uploads from this point on. I know the weather's nice and everything, and I have a lot kind of to do to make videos. I just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of seems to get left behind after work and everything. So yeah, hopefully making more consistent videos from this point on. I think I say this every time, but I hope to just keep making more videos, and I have a lot of videos to make. And as you guys saw, the K24 Red RSX is officially a thing. So it's officially fully swapped and everything, but now I'm having a K-tuner problem, of course. So I'm gonna get that checked out from HA Motorsports, the person who sent it to me. It's not connecting to my laptop, so I can't upload the base map. So yeah, for now I'm going to be waiting around until they can take a look at it. So the Red RSX will be on the back burner for a while, unfortunately. But I figure what better time to talk about the RSX platform, because today we're going to be in my silver Acura RSX, the 5-speed base model. And this car's kind of been off the channel for a little while, and I kind of hate having it being off the channel, because this car kind of made me start the channel along with the Red RSX. So this channel was pretty much an RSX channel for the most part for a while, until the CRZs came along, and they kind of stole my heart a little bit too. So yeah, there's a lot of cars that I want to own in the future, but the RSX platform I think will forever be my favorite. I feel like just how long I've owned this car in general, and the fact that I'm never going to sell the Red RSX. So today's topic is going to be, should you modify an Acura RSX in 2024? Now, to give you the simple, blunt answer that every RSX owner will give you is yes, because for one, this car is like a very, very good platform to get into for the modifying scene, especially for a lot of reasons. And for the one main reason being, there's just so many parts available for these things. And to tell you, I was starstruck when I found out the CRZ has like only 2 or 3 like part manufacturers that make parts for them. Really, like there's not many part manufacturers that make parts for the CRZ example. There's other cars out there that aren't as popular and don't have the aftermarket support. So like by far, even just like the fact that there's so much aftermarket support, it's basically just a luxury Civic. Like in my opinion, obviously everybody has their own opinion, the RSX is just a better looking Civic. Literally it comes with the same engine that the EP3 SI comes with. So literally just the exact same as a luxury Civic. That's how I picture it. So the base model comes with the K20 A3, which is the economy version of the K series. I've loved the car ever since I owned it, and it really doesn't feel slow. Like, yes, compared to the Type S, it's going to be a lot slower. But honestly, the move right now is just to buy a base model and then engine swap it. That's like, I feel like that is the move right now. That's what I was gonna do with the Red RSX before I bought the Type S. I was looking for base models, but it was harder to find. From what I saw, it's harder to find a clean base model. It's a lot easier to find a clean Type S, because that was like the sport version. A lot of people kept them pretty nice. Base models were mainly used as dailies, like I use mine for. But it's very hard, let alone to find a manual base. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if anybody's looking for a nice daily, dude, these things are awesome dailies too. This can be a daily. Even a Type S can be a daily too, but this thing is just a cheaper, all around, I feel like, better daily. You don't got to put 92 or 93 in it, and it's a lot cheaper to maintain. It gets a little better gas mileage than a Type S. Then again, if you're looking for a project car in particular, you don't really care about the gas mileage. And if you care about the gas mileage, you shouldn't, because you're buying a project car. You're ready to spend all this money on fucking parts. You know damn well it's not going to be fuel efficient afterwards. But personally, yeah, if I were anybody looking for a project car or looking to modify an RSX, would that be in the base or Type S, there's just so many options. You really cannot go wrong with either or, the base or Type S. Now, I say that pretty loosely, because a lot of the mods to this car, like a lot of the bolt-ons, you're not going to get much power from. Like, you can't just add an exhaust and tune and an intake. You're not going to make, 400 horsepower or nothing. But I do want to point out these the Type S does make 200 horsepower depending which one you have, the 02 to 04 to 05 to 06. The 05 to 06 does make 210 horsepower from factory to the crank, so that's the thing. And yeah, the number looks small, like 210 horsepower looks small, but then you gotta remember again, the car is really light, all this and that. So I'm gonna kind of go over all the stuff all the routes you can go when it comes to modifying. Like I'm gonna talk about like balls to the walls, things you can do like all-wheel drive turbo and shit. I'm gonna talk about just basic bolt-ons, my personal opinion on all that. And then really, yeah, keeping it stock too, like what the kind of fun you could have keeping it stock. So I'm gonna start with keeping it stock first. So if you keep your RSX stock, you're gonna have a blast in it. Really, the main route people go with these cars is just basic bolt-ons. If you're looking to make a lot of power on this thing, the main way you can do it is by adding a turbo. That's like the most easy and done way of making power on these things. So that also leads me to tell you guys that, you know, obviously the RSX base and Type S come with both the K series. So you already have a, you know, million-mile engine on your hands. So really anything you do to it, if you break it, that's on you, because these engines are like legendary and ridiculously reliable. They are known to leak oil and burn oil. Personally, 240,000 miles, mine doesn't burn or leak a drop of oil. We did have the VTEC solenoid, I believe, was leaking on this thing a little while ago, but we replaced them. Yeah, that is like the main thing that leaks, I believe, on these. Holy fuck, it's a lot of gravel. That is the main area that leaks from. I think also from like the oil pan and shit, it depends on, you know, the shit you do to it. So I think the oil pan and the VTEC solenoid are the main places it'll leak from. Like I said, I've had very little problems with mine. The main reason why it would leak from the VTEC solenoid is just because, point blank period, it's an old gasket. So old gaskets just wear out over time. Now when it comes to like power difference between the base and Type S, the base model makes about 150 horsepower or so. And then, yeah, like I said, the K20, Z1, and the 0506 RSX Type S, that makes about 210. So it is quite a big difference for having like the same displacement engine and everything. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you pay for the luxury version, you get less gas mileage, you get more power. So that's just what it is. And then also the base model comes with the 5-speed, personal favorite. The 6 speeds have a lot of grinds and pop-outs in the trans. But yeah, personally, the 5-speed is where it's at. The 6-speed is, yeah, it has a lot of problems. So when it comes to bolt-ons, there's just like millions of options. It's not like the CRZ where, you know, it's very hard to come by certain things. For the most part, these cars are like ridiculously easy to find parts for, let alone like you can buy them new yet, you can buy them used really easily because there's just so many of them. Yeah, so really for the most part, bolt-ons for this car are not hard to find at all by any means. And the only reason it would be hard to find is if you're looking for a specific one. But yeah, and even if you're looking for a specific one, you're most likely going to find it brand new. So yeah, finding parts for these are not a problem. You can go anywhere from a Pexi, Greddy is discontinued, so that's the only one you wouldn't really find. Greddy, Spoon. There's just millions and millions of brands I can name off. In NVIDIA, there's just millions of brands that make exhausts. There's millions of brands that make intakes for this thing. InGen, Takeda, whatever the hell you want to call them. There's millions of brands that make coilovers for these. Teen, whatever you want to call it, BC Racing. Yeah, there's just so many options. This car is like pretty much a project car for anyone's budget, because anybody can afford to modify these unless you're broke. So as far as bolt-ons go, you're gonna have zero problem, well, one, finding them, and two, finding a good deal on them. People are always selling used RSX parts, so even if you do end up not wanting to buy a new intake or a new exhaust, for example, I just bought a new exhaust for this car actually, because the one I have on it rattles. So I found one used, literally on a Pexi, the Pexi W2, like the smaller one, for 150 bucks. And it's not even really used that much. And yeah, so yeah, originally like almost $800 exhaust, find used. So that's just like I said, it's basically just like modifying a Civic, besides it's way more unique. and I think it looks a lot better, but then again, you guys can be your own fucking choice on that. It's definitely a lot more unique. You guys cannot doubt that by any means. You will not see this car as often as you will see a Civic. Yeah, so bolt-ons, you know, you're probably gonna make, so say you have bolt-ons in a tune for a Type S, maybe 230 horsepower, depends on your tune and everything. But yeah, the other routes you can go, which is what I'll mention here now, is the route that I went with the RSX Type S that I bought. I decided to K24 swap it. So the K24 is out of the TSX. That is a very, very, very common swap to any car nowadays, because they're just really cheap. They make a ton of power, and it's just a K series, so you really can't never go wrong with the K series. So K24 is what I swapped into my RSX Type S. So you're asking, why would I swap another K series into a car that already has a K series in it? So 2 to 3 reasons. One reason being I got it imported from Japan, so it has anywhere from 30 to 60,000 miles on it. So my K20 Z1 had about 150,000 miles on it. So yeah, right there it has less miles. 2, the displacement of the K24 is a 2.4 liter instead of a 2.0. So it's got a higher displacement, which means more low-end torque, which is what you want from a street car, I feel like. And the third reason being the internals are just a lot stronger, and they can handle boost a lot better than a K20 can. Don't get me wrong, K20 can fuck up some boost. Like, they can totally handle a fuck ton of boost. But the K24, just for the long run, I feel like just handles boost a lot better. And I feel like that's my main goal when it comes to the end result for the RSX Type S, is gonna be modifying it so I have a K24 turbo. That's my main goal. Like I said, I plan on keeping this car for my Type S forever. So I plan on having a longer goal. I'm not gonna turbo it by next year or nothing. So I've owned it for 2 years already, and I already have a K24 in it. So I'm kind of along the lines of getting a turbo kit in about 5 years or so, something like that. But yeah, like I said, not rushing into that build or nothing. But yeah, K24, personal preference, it's a really good engine swap to go into. For one, you can import them for like less than $1,000 with less than 60,000 miles on them. They make a lot, well, I won't say a lot more power, but they make a lot more torque, so a lot more noticeable power. Honestly, I'd rather have more torque than more horsepower. So when I did my K24, so like I said, I'm gonna go into detail about this later and make like at least 10 different videos about the K24 swap. I already have made videos about it, so if you guys are intrigued about how you do it, how much money it's gonna cost, I'm gonna be making those soon. But as far as like how to do the K24 swap, I will link the playlist in the top right corner, so you guys can check that out if you guys are interested in that. I feel like it's a really easy swap, especially because you don't have to do many modifications at all. You can return it to a K20 very, very easily if you wanted to. Not that I'm ever going to, but it doesn't require like any major modifications to the car and chassis itself. So I'm gonna also talk about some of the more common mods people do. So like I said, a lot of people do K24 turbo. A lot of people just do turbo, K20 turbo. And you're gonna make, depending on your setup, depending on how much reliability you want, you can make anywhere from 400 to probably anywhere up to 1,000. It just really depends on your setup and your money and how much reliability you want, I guess. That kind of comes down to that. I've seen people make reliably 600 horsepower on a K20, stock K20, stock internals. So if they can do it, anybody can do it. But that's my personal opinion. I wouldn't do that much for a street car. But yeah, people have done it before, and there's just another thing too is when you modify these cars, there's just everything's been done to them already. So there's always like tutorials on everything about these cars. That's another good thing too, is there's like guides for everything damn near. Yeah, when you say RSX, you just imagine like K20 or K24 turbo. The other thing you can also do to these is a lot of people will make a K20/K24. So all that is pretty much K20 head with a K24 bottom end. And some people say it's the best of both worlds. You can get the high revving K20 head with the torquey K24 bottom. Personally, I don't think it's worth doing that. A lot of people have done tests on it, it might make a few more horsepower than just a total K24. I don't think it's worth the work to do it that way. A lot of people have, and a lot of people still will, no matter what. So again, that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But personally, I would just go full K24. So when you're, I'm not gonna talk about K24 swapping too much. I mean, that's like its own build series on this channel. So I could reiterate a million different things I've talked about in the videos already. But there's a lot of things you can do to a K24 to make it really reliable and worth your time to modify. As far as like the potential for these cars, it's like almost the sky is the limit, dude. Like, there's so many things you can do to these cars. Yeah, literally 5x1143 bolt pattern. So like damn near all the Honda wheels are the exact same. And obviously Civics are really popular, so you won't have a problem finding wheels for these either. And there's just so many turbo kits for these things too. Like, there's just so many. You can just order a turbo kit online and just literally screw it all in, and you can make 400 horsepower on these things. Like, yeah, it's going to cost a chump change, a couple grand and stuff, but I mean, there's other cars like, you know, the CRZ, for example, or the TSX, for example. There isn't a lot of kits for those cars, and, you know, modifications you can make to those cars because they're just not as popular. This is kind of like, I feel like the RSX is like that in-between car where it's like, it's unique enough to where you don't see them like Civics, but it's also like you can modify the shit out of them because there's just so many companies that make parts for them, and they've been out for so long. Again, it's just my personal opinion though. So, and then the other argument I wanted to make was, a lot of people say you shouldn't modify a base model. Now, although I believe you shouldn't modify it to make, like, you shouldn't like turbo modify it. Obviously, you can still turbo a K20, A3, do what you want to your base model. I'm not going to tell you guys how to live. I'm just telling you guys the potential you guys can have and the reasons you should or should not modify an RSX. But a lot of people do modify their base model. Personally, I would not do that. Personally, what I've done and what I feel like is the best route for a base model, just throw bolt-ons on it. Don't even tune it, just throw bolt-ons on it and just have fun with it. Honestly, it's not worth really modifying a base model with the A3 in. Now, if we're talking, you're throwing a K24 in, now we're talking like actual power and stuff. But the A3 potential isn't very high. It's very reliable, don't get me wrong, but it's just not a performance engine. That's my personal opinion on that, from owning a base model for how many years now. Personally, I wouldn't modify it to the extent as a Type S, but that's my opinion. So that's kind of the routes you can go. Like I said, you can literally just keep it stock and it'd still be a really fun car to drive, and you don't even have to make this a car or a project car or modify at all to be fun. Maybe just an exhaust. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a younger guy. Some people don't like exhausts on cars. Whatever. I feel like an exhaust really transforms a car from being really, really boring to semi-fun and enjoyable. But like I said, that's me being younger. So yeah, with that being said, that's kind of my opinion on the RSX modifying platform. There's just so many options you can do with it. Your potential is off the roof. It's literally, like I said, it's just a Civic that looks a lot better. And like I said, if you guys have any questions on the K24 swap and stuff, did a whole lot of fucking build videos in the playlist, which I linked in the top right. I'll also link in the description for you guys if you guys are curious on all that. We worked pretty hard this winter to get that in, so now we're just waiting on K-Tuner to figure out their shit and why it won't connect to my laptop. Yeah, like I said, we'll be making lots of videos. Once the Red RSX is up and running again, we'll be making more videos about that. And yeah, but yeah, for the most part, I highly recommend modifying these cars. Obviously, everyone's gonna do whatever they want, but this is just my personal opinion. If anyone was like curious on what's the modifying scene like, as if you guys didn't know for the last 20 years almost. Yeah, these cars are coming up on 20 years now since they've been released, so that means almost import ready too. So almost right-hand drive import ready. So that'll be slick too. So these cars are almost ready to be imported from Japan. So that's always cool. To the US at least, depending where you are. So yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope I was able to inform you guys at least a little bit. Maybe you learned something, maybe you just liked the video. I don't know why you guys are here, but I appreciate you guys watching the video. And yeah, if you guys are interested in anything CRZ, CBR, or RSX, be sure to check out the rest of the videos on the channel. hopefully making more consistent uploads. We are in the process of buying a house right now, me and my girlfriend, so that's pretty hype. So I'm excited for that. Adios, motherfuckers. Take care.
They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that could make sense. They hate when I keep dreaming I'll be famous, but I don't give a fuck, I'ma keep chasing. I got all this potential that's deep inside of me, but they